As part of a study of Hebrew grammar, let's take a look at construct chains. So some functions of a construct chain. Essentially, construct chains are basic blank of blank phrases. So something of something, something of someone. So for instance, words of a prophet, or mercy of God, or creator of earth. These kinds of phrases that take the form of blank are typically what we see in construct chains. Construct chains are often used like adjectives. Hebrew does not have a lot of adjectives compared with other languages such as Greek or English. So for instance, if we said mountain of holiness, this would be used in Hebrew to mean holy mountain. So we can use them like adjectives. Now there are many places where they're not used like adjectives, but they can be. A noun can have one of two states. A noun can be in either absolute state or construct state. And we'll talk about what those mean in a minute. So now construct chains, they are built up, constructed, of one or more words in construct, and they always end with an absolute noun. So for instance, the words of the prophets, the Hebrew equivalent of that, you would have the words would be a word in construct, and then the prophets would be a word with a definite article in absolute state. Similarly, the tribes of the sons of Israel. Now here we have two words in construct. So the equivalent Hebrew would be, the tribes would be a word in construct, the sons would be a word in construct, and then Israel would be the final word, and that would be an absolute word. So a construct chain always ends with an absolute noun or word acting like a noun. Let's take a look at masculine singular construct to begin with. So with a masculine singular, there are no consonantal changes usually, but vowels may change. So in general, the construct word loses its accent. So there's no accent in any word in construct. And second, the accent is only on the absolute word. So that's going to cause some vowel changes. So for instance, let's look at davar, meaning word, matter, thing. So if we put this in construct, where the word navi, prophet, we get word of a prophet or a word of a prophet. But notice that the accent is lost. So with davar, we have the accent on the final syllable. In davar navi, this word, the first word, loses its accent, and the only word that has an accent is the final word, navi. So it's davar navi. The accent for the entire chain is only here on the absolute word. As a result, these syllables way back here in the line of syllables are way before the accented syllable. And because they're more than one syllable back, meaning they're pro-pretonic, this means that some vowel changes may occur. So an originally open syllable like da is going to reduce, in this case to d. So we got a vocal schwa here. So the first vowel reduces to vocal schwa. The second change is that the second vowel shortens to patach. Well, why does that happen? Well, originally we had a long vowel in an accented syllable. We had davar. But now we have an unaccented syllable. The accent has shifted over here to the end of navi. And so now we have a closed syllable that's unaccented, and that's going to take a short vowel. So that's going to reduce from comets to patach, the short A-class vowel that corresponds to the long A-class vowel. So the second vowel shortens to patach. So here we see that the consonants have not changed, but the vowels have changed. Let's take a look at what happens to masculine plural constructs. So consonants change and vowels may change. Here we have the word davar, and the absolute plural is divarim. Divarim. So we are familiar with that already. Now if we put that into a construct, we're going to swap out this final im for a tsarayod. So it's going to look like divrei. So this reem, this final consonant resh, and then a hirik yod followed by a final mem. It's going to be the resh still there, and then we're going to have a tsarayod. So the im is now going to be an a. So we have divrei. Let's take a look at what's happening at the beginning of the word here. So we have divrei. Note that the original word, davar, had beit resh. That's a closed syllable. But now the resh is beginning a new syllable with this tsarayod, re. So the beit is no longer in a closed syllable. It actually is now an open syllable. It's lost the consonant that was closing it. So it is now an open syllable, and so it's going to reduce also. But we can't have two syllables that are reduced. So technically we've got Kametz reduces to a vocal schwa, and then the va, that Kametz reduces to a vocal schwa, but we can't have two vocal schwas next to each other. If we do, then the first one is going to lengthen to a hirik, and the second one is going to become a silent schwa. So we're going to get div re, and then navi stays the same. So divrei navi. This is interesting because notice our original word has two long A vowels, kametz, kametz. Here, when we look at the word in construct, we've lost both of those vowels. We have a hirik and we have a silent schwa. So the word looks different. So we have to get used to seeing the word in construct and mapping it back to the original word that it came from. So words of a prophet, divrei navi, is going to look a little bit different than what we might expect with davar. Let's look at feminine singular constructs. So for words that end in kametz he, feminine nouns, the final kametz plus he changes to patach plus tau. So we have Torah, and then in construct that's going to become Torat Moshe. So I'm losing the accent. The accent is now going to be on Moshe. This is the law of Moses. So here we have the kametz and the he changing over to a patach plus a tau. So this is the construct form of Torah, Torat Moshe, the law of Moses. Let's look at feminine plural constructs. So in this case, the consonants do not change, but vowels may change. So in the absolute, we drop the he and we add holam wow plus tau. So let's take a look at this word here, mishpacha. This is a word for family. And so when we turn this into a plural, we swap out the he for a holam wow tau, ot. So we get mishpachot. That ot is very, very characteristic of a feminine plural. When we go to the construct, we have the same ending, the ot ending, but we may see a vowel change. And so here we have mishpachot Yisrael. And so the ending, the chot, stays the same. Note that in the plural absolute, we have a kametz under this patach. Here, we see that the accent is shifted all the way over here to Yisrael. This now, this pei, this was an originally open syllable. It's now more than one syllable back from the accent syllable, so it's going to reduce. So now we get mishpachot Yisrael, the families of Israel. This looks very similar. We see the same ending, and we see one vowel reducing. Let's look at the definiteness of a construct chain. So a construct chain is either all indefinite or all definite. The definiteness of a construct chain is determined by the final noun in the construct chain, the absolute noun. And a word in construct will never have a definite article. Let's take a look at this construct chain we saw earlier, Devar Navi, word of a prophet or a word of a prophet. Now, if I put a definite article on Navi, this changes the construct chain to definite and it becomes the word of the prophet. Notice that there is no definite article on the word in construct. We never put a definite article on a word in construct. The definite article only goes on the word in the absolute state, if it's a common noun, not a proper name. So we have either a word of a prophet or the word of the prophet. Using construct, we cannot say the word of a prophet, and we cannot say a word of the prophet. There are other ways to do that, but a construct chain is either all definite or all indefinite. So how do we indicate definiteness? Well, it can be indicated in three ways. First, the presence of a definite article. We saw that in the previous slide. So we have Devar Hanavi. There's the definite article. That makes it the word of the prophet. A second way we can indicate definiteness is by adding a pronominal suffix. And so we have here Devar Malki. This becomes the word of my king. And so by adding a pronominal suffix, it takes the generic a king and makes it definite, my king. So this becomes the word of my king. A third way we can indicate definiteness is with a proper name. So here we have Devar David, the word of David, becomes the word of David. It's definite David, proper name, and then the word in construct is also taken as definite. Let's review how vowel letters work and then see how they operate in constructs. So we know that vowel letters never reduce to a half vowel. That's just a rule that applies to vowel letters. We never reduce them. So for example, we have Torot Moshe, the laws of Moses. So this Holam wow, this is a vowel letter, or we also call them historically long vowels. This is actually more than one syllable back from the tone syllable. Moshe, the tone syllable is here, but it's a vowel letter, so it doesn't reduce. Here's another example. We have Kokvei Hashamayim. It would be the stars of the heavens, or perhaps the stars of heaven. Again, we have this Holam wow here, and it does not reduce, even though it is more than one syllable back from the accent syllable. Now, occasionally, a vowel letter may be written defectively. So we have Kokvei Hashamayim. Here the Holam wow is written just as the corresponding long vowel, the Holam. But notice it's still a full vowel, it's not a half vowel. So a vowel letter can reduce sometimes to a corresponding long vowel. We say it's written defectively, but it will never reduce to a half vowel. So that is an introduction to words in construct.